Welcome to another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. And my guest today is a co-founder of Women's GoBundance. GoBundance has been around for a very, very long time, and it was just a collection of men. And now she has created, it's for women. They've been going a long time. This woman is brilliant. She has written tons of books. She's got a company that's worth billions of dollars. She's got so much to teach us, and she's so real, so authentic, so humble. I know you're going to love this, and you're going to share it with people like crazy. Please enjoy as much as I did. Thanks for joining us. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Kara. I am absolutely grateful to be here today.
Oh my goodness. We have been trying for months and months and months, and you are such a busy lady that I feel honored to have you here. So you started with another lady. You started something called GoBundance Women. What is
Yes.
that?
Yeah. So GoBundance Women is a membership community for ambitious female leaders, investors, entrepreneurs that really are just seeking community to help provide accountability, ideas, just, mutual collaboration and networking so that we can create massive success and get that epic life without sacrifice.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so give us a little context. You're
Yeah.
working, you're living. How did this
Yeah.
come about?
Yeah, well, it's important that I kind of give you my origin story so that you can kind of understand it because it's probably going to resonate with a lot of people that are out there. So, you probably won't believe this, but I was a classic overachiever growing up. I was that person that always wanted to be number one, and I got into the mortgage industry at a very young age and quickly became a top producing loan officer. So I was in the top 1% of loan officers in the nation at the
Woo!
beginning of my career. And, I'll be honest, like I was a workaholic. I was I call it a significance holic, where everything was about getting the name and the numbers up on the billboard. Like, look at me. And then I had my awakening in 2004. My mom, who was just 57 years old, got diagnosed with dementia. And she was the person who I was probably trying to seek her approval the most, and all of a sudden she didn't care anymore, right? Like it didn't matter. And so we didn't know how long we were going to have with her. And so a lot of what happened with me was that I realized that although I had created a lot of worldly success, I was miserable inside. And I started down this path of personal growth. And who knew 20 years later I'd still be at it, right? I think most of us think there might be a destination where we can stop working on ourselves. And it's just new things that come up, and we need that fine tuning on a consistent basis that happens. And so as I went down that journey in personal growth, I did a lot of it alone. So I went to events alone. I read books alone. I did a lot of the work alone, and I shared it. I've been a speaker for over 20 years. And so as I learned new things, I shared it with my audience, and that provided a lot of accountability. But the truth is, I was really lonely, like really lonely. In my last book, Big Voices, I actually dedicate like a whole section about learning how to be lonely. And then all of a sudden, when I realized, like, oh my gosh, I'm a master manifester. Why don't I just manifest a community? And that's how this happened. It was through my own journey of really being in a place where I felt like I'd hit a plateau of growth on my own, and I needed community in order to be able to take me to the next level. And to be honest, I'd never had women. I had a lot of men, like men, professional business owners, the founders of my company who I love and adore and supported me. And I loved those connections, but I wasn't getting the invite to go skiing with them or to Tahoe with them because the guys can't invite the girl, right? They just can't. Like that's one thing the men out there need to realize. Like we are limited by some of these things. And so I needed community, and that's how GoBundance came about. I heard about there was an amazing men's community. GoBundance has been around for a long time, and sparking those conversations with them about what would be possible. And here we are, 5 years later with an amazing community.
That
Long
is
answer.
awesome. I
Long
know, and there's
answer,
so much
but
to
I think
unpack.
it's so important.
Oh gosh, it is so important. So can we talk just a little bit about this? Because women who have not hit a plateau and are not outwardly successful look at someone like yourself or who you were and think, she's got it all together. She's got the perfect family, the perfect everything. She has no problems. Tell the truth.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And
they truly believe that you have it all figured out.
yeah, none of us do. Let's be honest, like none of us do. The one thing that I would tell you that I really speak and coach to and I found in my own life, like I might radiate at abundance and be an opportunity for, a magnet for opportunity, but it doesn't mean that I'm without human suffering. And so many of us, whether it's real suffering, I've endured a lot of loss in 2024, and I grieve just like the rest of you. The challenge that I would say is that most of us haven't been taught how to stay in joy and suffering simultaneously. And it is a skill. It is honestly a skill. And most of us have not had that modeled in front of us. I mean, let's face it, most people just want to complain and be a victim. It's a lot easier. And that's what your brain is designed for. And so, the part of my awakening was in recognizing that I was not my thoughts and emotions, and how much power I had over creating a life by design versus a life that my brain, which is really just an old technology, an old survival technology tool, wasn't supporting me on.
Pretty much right there. So, how do you do it? How do you have joy and suffering in the same time?
Yeah, well, first of all, you recognize the step one is recognize it's a choice, that it's possible. One of the abundance practices that I look at on a regular basis is like, how can I remain open to infinite possibilities? So no matter where you are right now, you might be feeling stuck, you might be feeling overwhelmed, maybe you just got hit with something in your business or your relationship or anything, like it feels like it's weighing you down and there's no possible way out, right? That's how a lot of people feel, especially at the holidays. Maybe you're missing a loved one, or your finances aren't where they need to be and you're stressed because you're charging your kids gifts, or no matter what situation you're in, knowing that we're more powerful than our current situation is really important. And so the steps that I take people through, I think there's three distinct areas that we really need to get into harmony, which is we need to understand what our true desire is. Desire is about how we want to feel, not what we want represented in the external or 3D world. Like, how do I want to feel? So many people see, like, oh, it's a number on the scale. I haven't weighed myself in 20 years. I feel great. That's what I focus on. Did I nurture my body today? Did I, surround myself with positive people? How do I really feel? So we've got to get really clear on what our desire is. And in Western society, we're so goal oriented that we get away from how we want to feel, and we get in that hamster wheel of doing, 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 and then there's no being. There's no presence. And that really was my awakening 20 years ago. I don't think I had a present moment in my entire life before then, because I was always thinking. Everything was about thought. It was, am I having fun? Am I this? Who can I tell? Rather than just being in the moment. And so that was really important. So, number one, desire. Number two, this is not possible without discipline, period. You will not get into joy and flow. And I use the words joy, flow, frequency, abundance, all simultaneous, like they're all kind of the same for me. You must commit to discipline. And when I mean discipline, it's every day. I'm a morning ritual 365 days a year on a streak for 14 years now.
Whoa, girl. Come
If
on.
somebody, I
Come
just
on.
remember, I'm sure you know Brian Buffini. I got to meet Brian in 1998 when I first started in mortgage. So grateful for the foundation that he gave me. But, there's so many aspects of like what he kind of taught that took me a long time. I remember him saying, like, you need to journal. I was resistant for like 10 years, right? And then all of a sudden, once I started journaling every single day and really focusing on ensuring that I focused on gratitude and other things, it really kind of helped me. So discipline is something that I speak regularly about. And I have an amazing book coming out in 2025 that's on 7 practices that are really going to get you into abundance on a regular basis. And that's one of them, is just really making sure that you've got those daily disciplines in place. But discipline is more than the dailies. It's discipline in the way we think. It's discipline in the way we speak. There are so many things. Like, you started saying, "Oh my gosh, we've been, you're so busy." Like, I wouldn't use the word busy. Like, I would never use the word busy. Like, my life is full of opportunities, because our brain really associates the language that we speak with the feelings that it creates. And nobody feels great when they're busy. Nobody feels great when they're overwhelmed or has problems or any of these things. So language is another piece in there. There's a lot of discipline. But the last thing, Kara, that we really need to be aware of that is going to get you into this is being like super hyper aware of the environment in which you create for yourself. And so that's internal and external. So our internal environment is all about, the energy that I have. Brendan Bouchard's been instrumental in teaching me, like, look at myself more like a power plant rather than a gas tank. Most of us we run empty, right? We start full, we wake up, we get a couple of cups of coffee, and then we're like, by the end of the day, we have crumbs for our family and the people that we love the most, which is not what we want to do. And so we've got to make sure that our environment is really solid. And so that's internal and external. And there's ways to do that, right? That's how do you take care of yourself? How do you surround yourself with like-minded people that you're constantly networking with, that you're not afraid to ask for help? And then just really make sure that you're in community with people that I would say for someone like myself, I need people that are going to challenge me to get to the next level, not to say, "What are you doing it now? Like, how do you do it all? Like, you've got too much." No, I don't. I want to change the world. Like, I
Sweetheart, you
I
are changing the world.
I want to change the world. Like, I don't need people that are going to question my purpose. I need people that are going to support it. And so, communities like GoBundance, that's what that really does. And so those are kind of the things that I would tell you, is that when you have the desire, so it starts with, I choose to be in joy and be able to navigate suffering. And when I mean suffering, I'm not talking about self-suffering. Like, I have a mastery level at this point in self-suffering because I've studied it so deeply. So many of us create stress. We create these things just simply because expectations or disappointment, or I don't know how to manage my emotional triggers, or I don't know how to manage overthinking. I'm not sleeping well, so my brain's fuzzy. There's so many aspects that we can really, focus on to be able to create this new life for ourselves. So no matter where this list, your listeners are, just believe. That's all it starts with. Believe stress is optional. Believe self-suffering is optional. And there are so many resources and tools out there. You just have to take the next step today in finding them.
Right on. The next step. Take a deep breath and then figure out what the next best step is for you. Self care is not selfish. Can you go into that a little bit?
Oh my goodness, what a great, great area. Because so many people believe it is. Like, I'll
Yes.
have people tell me I'm being selfish. And I'm like, no, you're being thoughtful about your environment. And so, again, energy is something that we need to see as something we create. And so, if I'm creating energy, so for example, I woke up this morning, and I do my morning ritual. I also write in the morning. So for anybody that wants to create an and in your life, like, take 30 minutes from your day and wake up early. This will be my third book that I've written in 15 minutes a day because I did it consistently for an entire year, right? And most people binge watch Netflix for 2 hours a day,
Or
and they're
more.
like, I don't have time. It's like, no, you don't have priorities. That's where it's off. So that's where it starts with, is really getting clear about your priorities, because again, we're in a very goal oriented world where a lot of people are doing. what happens is if I'm all in work, right? I'm a real estate agent, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm trying to build my business. Next thing I know, my wife leaves me, my husband leaves me because I don't have time and energy for them. And someone else is going to give them attention if you're not meeting their needs. Like, let's be honest, that's why our divorce rate's so high. And so, I mean, there's a lot of other reasons beyond that. So we won't get into those today. But what we need to do is once we have a vision for how we want to feel in our life, then we should really choose our priorities. That's what you really value. So for me, God comes first. God comes first, period, plain and simple. I read the Bible every day. I read my devotional. I pray every day. And then it's my emotional and physical well being. And then it's my sweetheart and the kids, and then it's work, and then it's, my friends, and then it's contribution, whatever. And that list changes a little bit sometimes. But when I look at God for myself, it's kind of my purpose as well, right? Because if I put God first, He put me on this planet for a reason. Every one of us is a unique masterpiece, and I've got to do that. For me, my purpose is to help people increase joy and reduce self suffering. Every decision I make is through that lens. You reach out, do you want to be on my show? Can I talk about increasing joy and reducing self suffering? Yeah, well, then it's a hell yes for me. I'm going to show up, I'm going to serve, I'm going to give and make sure like this creates energy for me too. And so, self care, when we think about it, it's not about getting a pedicure, a manicure, any of these other things. It's about prioritizing your own physical, and emotional well being. And that doesn't happen by accident, it happens by intention. When, I probably about 20 years ago, as I started down this journey and I started helping other people, it was like they want to be happy, they want to be successful, but they couldn't take the steps necessary to get there. I'll give you a perfect example. I've been coaching real estate agents now for 26 years. And the number of times that I'm like, you need to have a very disciplined approach to managing your database. We know the numbers. We know the numbers of people that you help sell a home to that end up using another agent, or the number of people you find out that you helped use someone else because you lost touch with them. Like something that simple, right? That simple discipline of staying connected with your database is extremely hard for real estate agents to do. And it's because they don't have energy. And it's because they're not putting themselves first. So, like, if I start my day with self care, and again, I put God first, then my emotional and physical well being, like, I feel more clear because I'm telling myself who I want to be rather than using this default brain that is affecting me. Because the reason why real estate agents didn't do what they should have been doing is because they didn't feel like it. They didn't feel like it, right? So they sabotage their own success with laziness. And it's just one of those things that you've got to be really, you've got to be really thoughtful about, like, is it really, am I really in alignment with my priorities? But most people are pouring from an empty cup. So if you pour from an empty cup, you get really dismal results, right? And that's why the average real estate agent makes like this amount of money. And there's only so few top producers that are super disciplined. And so I had to start studying neuroscience and psychology because I couldn't understand it. I'm giving people everything that I have. I wrote a book in the mortgage industry and gave everyone my secrets after I retired. Everyone. People are like, aren't you worried that they're gonna, number one, I'm not doing that anymore. And number two, chances are they're not gonna do it anyway. They're just not. And so when I really studied a lot of these things and realized that our brain is not just, I mean, it's just a hindrance. Like the brain you were born with is a hindrance. And so you must retrain your brain just like you would a puppy. Like, have you ever bought a puppy, Kara?
I have one.
You have a puppy.
I
Oh,
do.
God bless you.
Yes, thank
Holy
you. Thank
moly.
you.
Holy moly, God bless you. Because dang, is it not challenging, right?
It's humbling.
It's the It's the repetition. It's the reward. It's the repetition and the reward. You're constantly retraining. And so I tell people, like, imagine, I mean, what was your first phone that you ever got? Did you have
Gosh.
one of the
A
suitcases?
flip phone. No, my
You got a
husband had
flip
one of
phone.
the
Okay.
suitcases.
My mom had a suitcase. Man, it was like I thought I was so hot making phone calls in the car until she got the bill, and I about got, taken out because it was super expensive back then, right? So imagine your brain being the flip phone. Like that's how you need to see it. You've got to hit Control Alt Delete on the program that it has, and you've got to upgrade it. And so once you start seeing your thoughts and emotions as separate from who you are, it's just used to doing the same thing over and over. And it has tangible proof that you're alive. So it doesn't care if you're healthy, wealthy, abundant, successful, joyful, doesn't care if you feel worthy, confident. It just doesn't care. And so you've got to reprogram it. And that's why installing a new mindset is so important. And that's why my next book is really on this mindset that is going to take you to the next level, because I want more people to wake up like I do. Like I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, thank you.
I'm the
Thank you.
luckiest person on the planet. Every day you wake up and you have those thoughts and those feelings. And I know, guys, that you're listening. I know those of you that are listening because I used to, I just so you know, I read your book and there's so much we have in common. You would flip
Yeah.
out. A sister, I mean, like so much.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
We have to
it's
continue this.
girl,
Yes.
it is freaky.
Yes.
And I want you guys to know, like if those of you that follow me know I had a really, really, really hard year in 2020. I rarely have negative thoughts. I rarely have fearful thoughts. You literally can rewire your brain. I know it didn't used to be
100%.
possible, but now it is. And environment is so much more important, which is why joining something like the
Yeah. Go
GoBundance for
abundance. Yeah.
women would, like, just so you know, I'm going to give you a plug that's not even GoBundance plug, but it's very similar. One of my
Yeah.
coaching clients like 4 years ago approached me because of Her Best Life. Have you heard of them?
Yes.
Okay. And she said, it's this much money. Should I do it? And I
Yeah.
absolutely, no doubt whatsoever, said, yes, right now, do it now. She's still there 4 years later. And it has massively changed her world because you only can believe and see what you can only believe what you can see right around you. When you
Yeah.
expose yourself to other thinking, then your mind expands and it's amazing what your capacity can do.
Absolutely. And most of us have no idea. Because I mean, when you think about the 4-minute mile, or you think about all these things that we never thought were possible. Like, I mean, man, we passed the metaverse by, we passed, web 3.0 by, and now we're in an AI world, and it happened all this year. And you're like, the speed in which things are changing means that we must change. Like, we've got to be ready for innovation. We need to be ready for what our superpowers are going to look like in the future world. Because I look at all the things that I'm watching entrepreneurs and real estate agents and mortgage professionals and other people do. Like, we really need to push our return on investment on our time to the next level. Like, I use virtual assistants. They're amazing. They do everything for me. I have a staff that does other things, and it's like that's what we've got to get to, is just we need to be really thoughtful that it's our strategic vision planning. It's our networking, it's our connecting human to human that's irreplaceable. Like, it's irreplaceable. And so how do I spend more time doing that? And I notice that a lot of times, because someone's good at something and they've always done it, they keep doing it because we get dopamine. We get dopamine from deleting an email. Like, our brain doesn't decipher between high level things and low level things. It's going to reward you the same. So you've got to be really thoughtful about how you spend your time in this next year as well.
Absolutely. So let's get to some of the fun.
Yeah.
Whoo, GoBundance. Talk to me, baby. Like, what happens if somebody joins? What can they expect in a year's time?
Yeah. So what I would say is that, number one, somebody that comes in needs to be vulnerable and open for mutual collaboration. And a lot of times that people are out there, it's almost like they have an expectation of it's a coaching community or whatnot. It's not, it's a mastermind, it's a collection of wisdom and whatnot. So you've got to be willing to invest in yourself. So for the person listening that says, I don't have time, you're the exact reason why you need GoBundance. We teach you how to have more time. We teach you how to overcome some of these abundance blocks that other people have, that you don't even know about, that are affecting your ability to get to next level. So when someone comes in, they go through an 8-week growth accelerator program, which is really just, leadership at the highest level. Like, who you're being is more important than what you're doing. If you want to accelerate growth in your business by 25% this year, you need to be willing to grow 25% this year, or else you're going to go through all of this like most people do. So you go through this program and then you're put into a pod with 4 to 5 other like-minded women that really become what I call your board of directors or advisors in your life. They're the people that you're going to run those big decisions by, share some of the struggles that you have. You meet either weekly or bi-weekly, depending on how much accountability and connection you want. You share what we call your master abundance playbook on a quarterly basis, which is your life vision. And again, for women, we start with how we want to feel. We're very, I would just tell you, like, our superpower is our being. And so we want to really start there and help you get there. The other thing that you do is you get access to what are called micro groups. And these are all different types of groups that you can jump in and jump out of. Like, our most active is our courses and creators community. Like, we've got some of the top coaches and creators that are in there sharing secrets, showing people what's working, not working, teaching them how to close some of these high ticket offerings that are out there. We have CEO coaching for people that really want to focus on taking their business to the next level. We've got, a finance one. We've got short-term rentals, long-term rentals, passive income, longevity, like anti-aging, all the things. But you get to jump in and jump out of those. And then I do mindset coaching weekly, and that is a huge opportunity for somebody to come in and get coaching from me on a one-on-one basis where everyone hears, and you always get something out of every conversation, which is great. And then we've got master classes where we bring experts in, and then our events are off the chart. So our next event is in Puerto Rico. We have Jen Gottlieb, who's a branding and speaking expert. We've got other amazing people, Kathy Fetke in real estate. I'm sure you've heard of Kathy. She's amazing. And others. We've got an amazing fashion show. We've got a blowout party with a band. Like, it's a lot of connection, a lot of adventure, a lot of fun. You leave feeling recharged and super connected, because one of the things that we do in GoBundance is we really want to make sure that we know, like, what are those life-changing introductions that we can make for you that are going to change the ball game. And then we follow up on them. Like, I'm a super connector. I don't know about you, Kara, but like, a day doesn't go by that I don't make 5 connections. And I'm
Ooh,
always
5.
like 5. And it's one, because every conversation, I want to know who you need to know. I want to know what you need, what resource, whatever that might be. And I'm not afraid to ask for help. Like, that's the big thing. That's one of the practices that I really coach to, is that we should be sharing our purpose, and we should be sharing what we need really clearly with every single person that we talk to. Like, those of us in abundance are the most generous beings that you could ever imagine. And so every phone call should be this dance between, like, hey, we have, like, if you're into social impact, that's my world. Like, I haven't shared this, but like, I am radically committed to world positivity. And that's what I just kind of call, like, it's good for the people, good for the planet. I will change the way that leadership in the United States is handled, as far as bringing more women up. And that's something that I'm super passionate about. So when I talk to somebody that's also super passionate about it, you can bet your bottom dollar that I'm like, I'm going to help you. You're going to help me. Let's go do this together.
It's almost never what you need, it's a who. It's almost always a who.
Always. Or the who brings the how. The who brings the how. Hey, I've done it before. Here's what I learned. Don't waste your money. Like I think that's a big challenge this year that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners are facing is how do I generate enough leads for my business, right? And there are marketing companies out there that are going to sell you on everything. And it's like, I really recommend if there's a tip that I want to give everyone, go 2 to 3 deep right now. There are a lot of people over promising and under delivering. And I've been a victim of that, and so like you need the tangible proof. Like, don't tell me what you can do. Show me what you can do. I want to talk to your clients. I want to see it. Where are your reviews? That kind of thing. Because, the conversion right now between entrepreneurs, real estate agents, mortgage people going into coaching or going into community building, that they're doing it because they couldn't make money doing something else, not because they hit mastery and they're in the contribution phase of their life now.
Right. So show me, don't tell me. I love that you said that. What is your advice to, we're talking to women mostly now. I've got a lot of men that are watching this, but you
Yeah.
ladies
But
need to
we
watch
need,
this, put it on.
this is about collaboration. So it's just
Yes,
as important that they hear this message as the women do.
absolutely. It's imperative. So show, don't tell. What would you tell the people listening, men and women, who have this dream and they have this goal and it's crazy? Do you tell people? Who do you tell?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I actually had this conversation with a woman yesterday that shared an idea with me, right? It was an audacious idea. I loved it. And the first thing I said, are you ready for a little bit of feedback? I'm like, you just shared everything with me without an NDA. You need to send a DocuSign over to me immediately. And I said, because two things happen when you have a great idea. Number one, you have a perception somebody else took your idea, which may or may not be true, or they actually take your idea. And I'm like, but the best entrepreneurs are always trying to solve problems. So we're not the only one that sees a problem. I mean, how many times have you seen a product launch and you're like, I thought about that. I thought about that, like whatever it might be that we thought about. And so that's what, I would say you want to hire a mentor to support you that's already done it. So if you've got a really great idea, there are a ton of people out there that do advisory mentoring that might, be in a position where they've already had an exit, they've already done something and they can do it. Or you want to get into a community that really already has the framework for accelerating the growth of your business as well. And so I would say when you have an idea, when you want to do something more, number one, still start with that vision for how you want to feel. What's the purpose of this? Like, do you want to be impactful or do you, because you're going to have to be impactful and then get away from being lazy. Like, there are a lot of decisions that we need to make when we want to bring a big idea. We've been growing our company here at GoodLeap because I have a main role in my life as well. I have a lot of ands. We've innovated more times in the last 14 years that I've been with the ownership team than it could blow your mind. And now we're a very, we're a multi-billion-dollar company that I've been a part of growing. And you look at what will it take in order to get there. It is a lot about your vision, but it's a lot about who you have on your team. Like, are you in business with growth minded people? Are you in business with people that are going to challenge the norm and be open? Like you started with, if they have a crazy idea, I don't think any idea is crazy. Are you willing to fail? You have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to call it when something doesn't work. And there's, I've watched other business people like pour money into a bad idea. The number one question that I ask when I'm talking to somebody about their business is like, what is your total market size? Like, really, what is the TAM? And you need to be so data driven on some of these things because otherwise it's a great idea, but you're the one and your friends are going to be the ones that buy it, not the person on the other side.
Very true. Okay, so not with giving a name, of course, but can you give us a story of someone who has come into GoBundance as one person and today they're totally different?
Oh, absolutely. And she would definitely not care if I shared her name. So
Okay.
I'm gonna just share one. Dr. Rachel Gainsborough, started and she was a doctor by trade and also is in the investment community and now has one of the largest short-term investment communities that are out there and has absolutely got an amazing podcast. She's such a force to be reckoned with. And just, some of the things that I would say that we all kind of share, and this is why I'm so passionate about this female leadership thing, is so many of us have imposter syndrome. Well, we have it because we're not in the right environment. So when you look at this spectrum of I feel not enough, that's how a lot of people feel, right? They feel not enough. I mean, Jamie Kern Lima's books flew off the shelf, the book worthy.
Yes.
We know it's an epidemic. What we don't talk about are those of us that feel too much. And when you feel too much and you're like, you challenge yourself like, what am I thinking? I already got a successful job. I've already got a successful career. I've already doing all these things. Like, how am I going to add another thing to what I'm doing? I'm in the wrong environment because, again, in abundance, we're open to infinite possibilities that we can make anything work. And so, as long as it aligns with our purpose. And so, Dr. Rachel's been number one, just an amazing member in our community, amazing supporter as well. But she's also really supporting so many other people out there in the short term rental space because a lot of people got burned, right? A lot of us got burned, including myself, because it was a market that exploded and a lot of people got in, didn't realize, number one, a city can change their rules like that. And then we get an oversaturation. I mean, real estate agents weren't saying, no, you shouldn't do this because everybody is. Like, and then we don't really have the long term. And so I mean, that's one of the most valuable pieces is that, I think some of us will say this is good, but like get into midterm. Let's convert this. There's a huge market for traveling nurses right now. How can we've got a co-living specialist. Rachel and Sam Weger, who are both in GoBundance, run one of the biggest co-living communities that are out there. And so there's just always that, we always have members that are thinking bigger and all of them like, and I want to mean all of them. Like contribution is also a big part of their life.
So talk to me a little bit about that because I do get it and I'm 100% behind that, but I am trying to train people who just are like, well, when I get here, then I'll start contributing.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I would say when it comes to contribution, it is it is not always money. So my recipe is 10% of my time, 10% of my money. And so I get to make big contributions in the world because of that. And so like even doing podcast appearances come into contribution for me. And I really just try to focus on making sure it is a if you've heard of the law of reciprocity, the way that most people see the law of reciprocity is like if I give to Kara, Kara's going to give back. We've been trained this. I mean, how many times do we hear like people say like, well, I had them over for dinner and they didn't have me over for dinner. Like it's a one-on-one type deal. That's not the way the law of reciprocity works. It's just I give and then I receive, but I don't even know how I get it back. And so when we're in that place of contribution, and it can just be mentoring somebody. It could be working in a soup kitchen until you get into financial abundance and you feel like doing it. But like, there's so much waste when it comes to spending today. I worked in a bank when I was 18. Bank statements used to be 1 to 2 pages long. And now they're like 8 pages long because we're swiping money. We don't place the same value on it because of the ease in which we can use it, and now it's a tap. We don't even have to swipe anymore, right? I mean, we could walk by something, it could probably take money out of our bank account without us even thinking about it. And so what I would say is that it must be a priority. And if you're choosing to be in abundance, it is a requirement. You will limit the amount of abundance that you create in your life if you don't choose to give back in one way or another. And giving back, there's so many ways to do it. Yeah, you can donate to a charity, you can work there, you can mentor, you can, help somebody with their career, their startup, their idea. There's so many different ways to give back, but you will limit the amount of abundance if you choose not to.
Absolutely. And I love that you put in the part about, if I give to Kara, Kara's going to give back, because guys, you will hurt yourself with that. And my mother-in-law was that way, and it just broke my heart. I mean, she
I
was very
know.
seriously, she kept tabs. It's like, this was fair. I did this for you, so you got to do that for me. And she'd say things like, if somebody else came over, oh well, they got in on it. It's like,
Yeah.
it's
Well, and I would say, like, there's a difference between being cheap and responsible with your money. And so when you're in scarcity and you're in fear is what holds you that way, like, you're not going to get to the next level. If you're thoughtful about how to, invest your money, how to spend your money or whatnot. I actually just wrote on this morning because it's such an important piece of our priorities. It's just, if you really want to know someone's priorities, look at their bank account and their calendar. And so when you look, like, man, $100 goes to Starbucks like that. What kind of difference would it make to a family that's down on their luck at Christmas time?
so,
You know?
so much. So it makes such a big difference. And I think that that's one thing that people of means often forget. We often get to a point where, like, you're just not thinking. You're not thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, like, every time I grew up in severe poverty, so every time I fill my car up with gas, I'm so grateful that I can
Yeah.
fill it up all the way. I don't have to get a couple dollars and hope I make
Yeah.
it. And
Get
if,
some
if we're not
coins or,
thinking,
yeah.
yeah, you got to
Yeah.
think about that stuff.
And in your business. So for me, this was initially an individual thing. So our company, GoodLeap, we actually have a nonprofit that we support 100% of our administrative fees, called givepower.org. So even as an organization, we've chosen this abundance formula too. And so as of today, we have over 1 million people a day that have access to clean water because of our water desalination plants. We've done over 2,400 schools in developing regions and brought energy in. Now, most of us don't think about, man, when I got my cup of coffee this morning, when I go get my cup of coffee, I am actually in gratitude because I have access to clean water today. So many people are still boiling water. Well, that puts carbon into the environment. So not only are they, having to do this, it's also not good. And so that's the one thing I would say for those of you that are entrepreneurs, make it a part of your mission to make the world a better place. Like, find ways that, and it improves your culture. It's the heartbeat of our organization here. People love, like, we just had an impact squad meeting yesterday, which is our internal employees, and we've recently raised over $40,000 for this Ride for Women project in Uganda. And it's like, and it's one of those magical things that our employees know, like, there are women now dancing because they have electricity, and they didn't before we made this contribution. And so when you engage your employees, when you have that commitment, when you're a value driven company, it will change the level of success that you have in your business.
Guaranteed. 100%. I had a gentleman on recently, such a powerful podcast. I think you'd really enjoy it. He was a vet and he had PTSD. He came back to the States and he figured out that horses healed him. Now
Oh my
he
gosh.
owns a huge horse riding place and in San Francisco, you can ride right down to the beach, and every veteran can ride free every day if they want to.
Oh, that's
Isn't
beautiful.
it? I mean, so when you and I go and pay for a ride, we're paying for a veteran. So how does that make you feel about paying for a ride? Everybody wins. It's beautiful.
I love that.
Girl, I think I could keep you for 8 hours. So let me just ask you, what books, like, you did it all alone? I did too. I went Tony Robbins seminars. I did all that stuff and all alone until I had I don't know, enough worthiness to be around other people that were better, that I thought were better. It's not that anyone's better, guys. It's not that anyone's better. It's just that they're more conscious. They're more conscious because they've worked on that.
Yeah.
What books, what
Yeah,
programs
absolutely.
would you recommend for someone
I
who's
have
just not ready
definitely.
to come out?
Yeah. So I started with Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. That was the first book that I read. If I could recommend other books that are in that same vein now that might be a little bit easier to digest, because I've done it all, Courses in Miracles, like all of it that's heavy, right? Super heavy, deep work. Untethered Soul is a great one.
Yeah.
My book, Big Voices, really goes into overthinking and how
It's
to
great.
manage triggers
It's great, you guys.
and
She
things
doesn't
like
need to
that
sell
too.
that book. I'm telling you, it is great. It's so practical. It's like, here, do this, and that for me, that's what I want. Like, tell me exactly. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, Kara, like I was really about strategy when I wrote that book. And since then, in the last, 8 years, I've really moved more into the healing space. So it's like we need strategy to be able to create this life and get the momentum going. And then I started to do the deeper healing and some of the restoration work that I needed to kind of annihilate and flatten a lot of those emotions or feelings that were coming from past experiences too. So, other books that I read, I would tell you, I mean, John Maxwell is number one, just an amazing friend and someone that I am very close to. But any of his books are amazing. But I love his philosophy on just the simplicity of the laws of leadership, which is great. And then I would tell you another, I mean, the book worthy, Jamie Kern Lima. I was resistant to it. I'll just be totally honest with you. I actually said this on a podcast one day. I'm like, why did we need to write a whole book on worthiness? The book should just say you're worthy, the end, right? That's what I said. I actually said it. I was not going to read the book. And then someone challenged me along the way, and I can't remember who it was. And they challenged me and they said, is it possible that your feelings of you're too much are actually coming from maybe some worthiness, something in there? And I'm like, I don't know. So I picked up her book, blew my mind. I'll be honest. Like, I mean, for anybody that's feeling not enough, highly recommend it. But for anybody feeling too much, it can also be a little bit of that source, that wanting to fit in, wanting to, like, being apologetic for how crazy of a vision that we have, or whatever it might be. And so it's definitely one that I would recommend too.
Outstanding. Last question. Every guest I ask this because you're on Think Your Way to an Epic Life. What tips can you give our folks to think their way to their own epic life?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is teach yourself what to think. Teach yourself what to think. Like my affirmations, my statements, I look at my 10-year vision every day. I look at my vision for how I want to feel every day. And so my thoughts that are created are definitely more in alignment with the instructions that I give my brain. And so knowing, like, number one thought for me, especially in business, is I am a magnet for opportunity. And then every day I'm like, I did that. I did that. Like, ooh, look at that. I did that, and it's just like, it's okay to own it. You know, there's a lot of humility and abundance that you have to learn as well. This is not, I have permission to judge people with lower levels of consciousness or have different life changes, because that will block your abundance like nobody's business. But at the same time, thinking and knowing that I am the creator of my own reality is so important.
Have you read Switch on Your Brain,
Nope.
Dr. Caroline Leaf? You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
It really is fascinating, guys. What the brain is, we in the last 10 years, what has been learned about the brain and its plasticity is fascinating. I take advantage of it. Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to let you go, but I have to. Oh my God, this has been so much fun. I appreciate it. My listeners, I guarantee you appreciate it. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have?
Ah, I would probably just say, what can I do to support you? That's always my question. Like, what do you need help with, Kara?
Whew. Um, I don't I have to get back to you on that. Right now I'm working with an executive coach, and I've never been in a better place. And never.
Yay.
It's beautiful. It is so beautiful to because and this is something I want to say to the listeners, not to you necessarily because you know all this stuff, but I will tell you guys, I really was of the opinion that if you had trauma in the past and you had a rough childhood, to leave it back there. Just leave it alone. Just if it's not bothering you, leave it alone. It will come back and bite you. You
Yeah.
cannot leave it alone. You have got to, there's an anchor of all that stuff that's keeping you in place. You got to cut that anchor. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm in the
Yeah.
process of doing right now, is just cutting, releasing past trauma.
This would be what I would recommend though from this conversation would be you should have a list depending on who you speak to, because there is a connection even to grow your real estate business or your team or whatever it might be. We should have a list at all times of like, hey, these are some things that could propel me forward that would bring success or joy or whatever it might be, even with more ease. So that's my challenge for you, is to work on that list.
I will
So
write a list. I will
yeah.
send you my list next week.
Good. Well, I know we're at time. I would love to leave your listeners with just a little freebie. They can go to www.downloadthepod.com. I have got some actionable steps on overcoming the top ways that entrepreneurs sabotage success. And so they can definitely listen to that 3-part series, and then, connect with me just at kellyresendez.com. Be happy to share any information on GoBundance and see how we might be able to support one another.
I love it. Thank you so much. And we will put all that in the show
Awesome.
notes. So, guys, click below and connect with Kelly. Also, if you
Yes.
do want to connect with her a little bit less directly, you can also leave comments on YouTube, and she or I can respond to those. I'll let her know if you've commented and you want to contact her that way. You can do that real easy. Just right below here, leave some comments. Thank you guys very much.